Welcome to my Enlightened Talon guide. This build is great if you want to practice your transitioning and positioning skills in TFT. In this video, I will cover the build, what items you make, how to play the early, mid, and late game, and then we finish off going into in-depth positioning. This is your level 7 build. Here the comp gets its biggest power spike. The chosen you get will only affect your level 8 board in most cases. If you get a chosen Mystic, you add in 4 Mystic at level 8. If you get Assassin chosen, put in 4 Assassin in at level 8, and so on. The best chosens for this comp are Pike with Assassin, Shen with a Mystic or Adept, Morgana with Enlightened or Dazzler, Talon with Enlightened or Assassin, Irelia with Adept or Enlightened. There are some chosens that are good on their own and that you can throw in, like a chosen Riven with either Dusk or Keeper, or a Sejuani and Aatrox with Vanguard chosen. The few cases where you take out one of the core 4 units is if you get a chosen Dazzler Morgana. Then you take out Lux to add in another frontline unit. And if you get a chosen Enlightened of either Irelia, Morgana, or Talon, you take out Janna to put in a better Mystic. I also want to note that you only run 4 Enlightens in this comp. This is due to how the math works with mana generation and the mana pool of the Enlightened units. If you're really interested, pause the video and look at this explanation by Goobums. So if you get an Enlightened chosen that is not Irelia, Morgana, or Talon, you want to sell it before your level 7 roll down. Talon is our primary carry for this build, so we prioritize making items for him first. He has one core item which is Infinity Edge. This item lets him deal more damage with his ultimate and allows him to reset more often. The second item for him wants to be a defensive item that is either GA or RFC. GA allows him to come back and pop off again, which is really useful if he gets stuck in a Sejuani ult. RFC is great as he stays farther away from all the CC and can reach backline carries without having to walk far. The third item for him wants to be either Hand of Justice, Bloodthirster, Giant Slayer, Last Whisperer, or Jeweled Gauntlet. Hosh and BT are great for healing and backup. Giant Slayer is great versus Brawlers and Cultists, Last Whisperer is great versus Vanguards, and Jeweled Gauntlet is great if you need more damage on his execute. Morgana wants Morello. This item is great on her as her ability applies over a large area. This item is not core, but it is definitely something you should prioritize before the third item for Talon. Lastly, we want to make frontline items. These are items we put on Shen and Irelia. But if you're running other frontline units, they can go on them as well. Great frontline items are Bramble Vest, Frozen Heart, Gargoyle Stoneplate, Shroud, Redemption, Thieves Gloves, Sunfire Cape, Zephyr, and ZZ Rat. You will slam these frontline items throughout the game, meaning you make any of these when you have components for them, and you don't need the components to make an item for Talon or Morgana. You also don't take components off carousels to finish these off unless you're forced to do so. If you get a Spatula, the best option is Assassin Spat, so you can get 4 Assassins in at level 8. Another decent option is to make Vanguard Shen, so you can fit 2 Vanguards in at level 8. If you can't make any of those, it will most likely just end up as a dead Spatula, as there's no other synergies that really benefits your team. So to sum up, make 2 items for Talon, then Morello for Morgana, then a third item for Talon, and make sure to slam frontline items in the meantime. The carousel priority for this comp is Glove, Sword, Bow, then Chain. During stage 1, you want to buy units that you can 2-star and that synergize well together. It's all about making the best opener for stage 2 here. Since this comp has primarily 3 cost and 4 cost units, we will not see any of those core units in the early game, so we have to transition into that comp later in the game. Therefore, we can play pretty much any opener we want to in the early game. But the better openers are Cultist Keeper. Here TF is your item carrier, he can hold both Morgana and Talon items. Warlords with either Keeper or Vanguards. Here Nidalee is your item carrier. She can hold both Morgana and Talon items. Zed carry. Here Zed is your item carrier. You prefer not to put Morgana items on him. Your frontline here can be anything from Vanguards, Brawlers, or Keepers. Yasuo carry. All you need here is 2 duelists with either Vanguards, Brawlers, or Keeper frontline. Put Talon items on Yasuo. During the early game, you want to make an item if you have 4 or more components. Items that are good to slam in this comp are Haj, Bramblevest, Frozen Heart, GA, IE, Morello, Redemption, and Sunfire Cape. During the early game, you either level aggressively and try to win streak, or you play passive to focus on econ. If you want to learn more about economy management, check out my guide where I go in depth about the subject. Link in the description. At the Krugs round, you should have more direction towards a comp. To play Enlightened Talon, I recommend you have one of the IE components, as well as a component for Morello or another Talon item. Since you have to transition into this comp, the units you have don't matter in terms of direction for Talon. However, they can lead you towards a different comp. During the mid-game, you always want to hold Talon and Morgana if you are not playing them. You only want to hold the other units in the comp as long as you're above 40 gold. Since this comp gets its biggest power spike at level 7, we generally don't want to roll at level 6 unless we're forced to. The cases where you roll at 6 is if you're 70 to 60 HP or lower, and you are currently lost streaking into stage 3-2. In that case, you will level to 6 here and then roll down until you are stable. During the mid-game, you need a mid-game carry as well as an item carrier. Some good ones to aim for are Cultist with Callista as the mid-game carry and item carrier, Kindred as your mid-game carry and item carrier. The frontline here can be either Brawlers, Vanguards, or Keepers. Zed or Akali as the mid-game carry and item carrier. The frontline here can be Brawlers, Vanguards, or Keepers. During the mid-game, you want to scout the other players to gather crucial information. You want to look at how they are positioned, what items they have, what synergies they have, and what comp they are going. This information will allow us to make a better third item for Talon. If there are a lot of Sunfire Capes and Morellos, as well as units that apply grievous wounds like Katarina and Kindred, then BT and Haj are not going to give us much value. If there are a lot of Vanguards, then Last Whisper will be a good third item. In addition, we also get to see how many other players are trying to play Enlightened Talon. This comp can support 2 people, so if you see more than that, consider pivoting to Jhin with a Cultist or Dust comp, or pivoting to Brawler Ashe and Spirit Shade can also work. At stage 4-1 or 4-2, you want to roll down for your comp. Sometimes if you're win streaking, you can do a fast 8 and roll there instead. When rolling down, sell your chosen unless it's one of the ones mentioned earlier and roll until you hit your comp. Roll to 0 if you have to, as you really need to hit Talon and Morgana to be able to stabilize. Sometimes, if you're sitting on multiple crucial pairs, it's fine to donkey roll until you are stable. To be stable at level 7, you generally need at least Talon and Morgana 1-star, as well as half your board 2-star. This will depend on the relative strength of the lobby, as well as how good your items are. At stage 5-1 or 5-2, you want to level to 8 and roll down here again. Here you want to 2-star everything, but especially Talon and Morgana. What you add in depends on your chosen. If you have a Mystic chosen, you want to do 4 Mystics. If you have an Assassin chosen, you want to get 4 Assassins. Other units like Sejuani and Riven will also do fine randomly splashed in as long as they're 2-starred. Also, most legendaries can do a lot of work to counter the enemy teams. Once you are stable at level 8, you want to go to level 9. This generally requires you to have Talon and Morgana 2-star, and you should only be missing 1 or 2 2-stars. Again, this depends on the relative strength of the lobby and how good your items are. At stage 6, you want to be level 9. Where you do it will depend a lot on how much gold you have, but you generally want to have at least 20 gold to roll through so you can find a good unit to put in. At this stage in the game, there are a few players left, so what you add in wants to counter the other players. This means that if there are Brawler Ashe players, add in Vanguards. If there are Mages or Auri comps, add in 4 Mystics. Another thing you can do at level 9 is to roll for Talon and Morgana 3-star. The game will almost never last long enough for you to 3-star both, but your priority is Talon then Morgana. But note that if you find a lot more Morganas than Talons, then go for her instead, as any of these 3-stars will be enough to get you the win in most cases. First, I will go over general positioning with this comp. Then I'll go over some more in-depth examples. General positioning looks like this. You want to lean towards one side. There are a couple of reasons for this. Number 1, most enemy units will clump around Shen, so Pyke will stun a lot more units when he dashes from the right corner to where Shen is. Second reason is that Lux gets a better ultimate angle and hits more enemies as they wrap around Shen. Thirdly, Irelia will walk up and get a much better ultimate angle into the other players. Morgana is in the corner so she stays safe. Janna is next to her so that she dies if you get jumped by assassins. Talon wants to be wherever he can get the easiest first kill or be positioned so he jumps on an enemy carry. Moving on to some more in-depth examples. Against the first guy, the big threats are Wukong and Aatrox. Talon is positioned to take out Janna. Pyke is positioned to land so that Wukong becomes the farthest away target. Lux and Janna are going to be Aatrox bait to keep Morgana safe. Since he has 4 Vanguard, we are most likely going to lose this matchup, so Morgana is the only way we will ever win. Shen is in the middle here, as he will get targeted by almost all the other enemies. He will dash through Hecarim and make Wukong walk back up to attack him. Irelia is second row behind Shen. Either Irelia or Aatrox walks first. This is matchup RNG and will depend every time. If she walks first, she will target Aatrox, and everyone except Wukong will get disarmed. After Shen dashes, Wukong will be in disarm range again, as he gets taunted. If Aatrox walks, then she will get a good ultimate angle, and after Shen dashes, she will get an amazing ultimate angle. As you might have noticed, Shen and Irelia's abilities synergize well together, so make sure to utilize this when positioning yourself. Against the second guy, the big threats are Aphelios and Diana. Lux is positioned so that Aphelios is the farthest away target and gets stunned by her. She is also Jarvan bait to keep Morgana safe. Morgana is on the opposite side of Diana, so that she can stay alive till the end of the fight. Janna is assassin bait to make sure Diana doesn't walk to Morgana after Janna dies. Pyke is positioned so that he attacks the enemy Shen. This way he will dash to Aphelios and stun most of the other units in the process. Talon is positioned so that he attacks Yuumi or Elise. This matchup is really rough for Talon, as almost all the units he can attack jump around in some way. Irelia is positioned so that she will walk up with Jarvan to around here. And from here Aphelios is in range of her disarm. Shen is in the middle so that he dashes through the enemy Shen and taunts the other units. This will keep Talon safe if he is being focused by, for example, a Kindred. I will note that this matchup is a bit hard to predict, as almost every single unit besides Elise and Aphelios will dash or jump somewhere throughout the fight. Against the third guy, the big threats are Ashe and Nunu. Talon is positioned so that he can get a kill on a different unit than Ashe or Kindred. This is because he jumps to the target that has dealt the most damage so far in the fight if he executes someone with his ultimate. This means that after he kills Maokai, he will jump to Ashe and execute her. Pyke is positioned so that he dashes to the Sylas and stuns the most amount of people in the process. Lux is positioned so that she deals damage to Ashe with her ultimate. In addition, since the units will wrap around Irelia, her ult will hit all the units attacking her. Morgana and Janna are behind our frontline, so they stay safe. Shen is positioned so that he dashes through the Vi and taunts most of the brawlers attacking him. This as well puts them in range to get stunned by Lux. Irelia is positioned so that she ults through Vi and hits most of the brawlers on the left side. Against the fourth guy, the big threats are Katarina and Garen. Talon is positioned to execute Nidalee. Pyke is positioned so that he dashes to Katarina and stuns some of the frontliners in the process. Janna is in the middle, as assassin bait to keep Morgana safe. It's hard to get value out of the Lux ultimate here, but we want the first one to stun Garen at least. Morgana is kept away from Katarina so she stays safe. Shen is positioned so that Set will ult him into the middle. He will also taunt Sejuani, resulting in her walking away and keeping Morgana out of range from her stun. Irelia is positioned to get a better ultimate angle after Shen has dashed. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 1,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.